Josh Gaines is a Portland-based author and is the editor-in-chief of Thought Crime Press. He earned his MFA in writing from the School of the Arts Institute of Chicago in 2013. His poems appear in numerous anthologies and online publications, and his fiction was most recently published in London's Dark Mountain. You can find his book of poems and flash fiction, Cigarette Sonatas, at thoughtcrimespress.com. Please welcome warmly, Josh Gaines.
So I had to put my dog down at 98 years old. This isn't about that, but it is too. I'm gonna put my glasses on because my eyes are getting old. This was a story. Beep, 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 beep. Deadpan staring into every home in America, the AM hiss and the scratched voice briefly cutting in with broken syllables. The side of the TV is slapped, the radio knob is tapped barely, in and out the words, but the beep never stops. Always comes through, cuts through like a church bell of a foghorn if space was fog. That and the one name, he said it like spitting, reverently, Sputnik. The Ivy Leaguers' doomsday clock beginning at 11:01 and barely ticking on. To their dismay, moves 1 second with every beep until a new system is devised a few minutes before the clock doom chimes midnight. Moving backward or forward in time, the clock waits. Somewhere a burning cloud of towering implosions leaves bare another piece. Sorry. I'm looking for the light. It's here, I promise. Another piece of trusting Earth. Somewhere a dog is being fitted for a spacesuit. Somewhere a vice president looks the enemy dead in the hat saying something like, "You may be in space, but we have a color TV." On TV, the equality of the accomplishments don't play out like a witch hunt, play out all wrong. Somewhere a playwright is hunted down. American rockets fly more down than into the sky. The clock ticks, the satellite beeps, the suit fits, the dog barks. Yuri waits. The clock wonders, who to scapegoat for these failures? The fear wonders, how much power to give a senator? She licks the condensating glass, licks, loving her shrinking planet. Did she miss her owners more than her world? For the first time, two aware objects reflecting suns circling, always circling the life of a newly discovered species, Terra Satellitis. The other, the moon, rolls her dark eye, content in her most peaceful way to observe, to orbit, watching the new, wondering, was such a creature ever made for this? Did her tail wag when she saw the sun as she became hungry? Or her whines the first living sound in all that empty everything? In the dog's mind, the boy that slipped her table scraps, the man's farming fingers rough but gently rubbing behind her ears, his son the boy who ran with her through the fields of hand-cultivated wheat where no machine was ever heard, where the smell of air was cold and rain and manure, soil, bread, green, the boy, the man, steam and soup, and the boy, and woven wool blankets or the pillows filled with goose down where the boy slept, where she'd lie when no one paid attention, how she never tired of any of these pleasures, how she never heard or never remembered hearing words like sacrifice, propaganda, space race, Khrushchev. Look, look, she yells. And inside, understanding herself as outside, even cramped and surrounded by hisses, beeping, the scent of burning circuits, grease, glass, her own sad filth, the rising death of the heat of the sun, the camera eye, watching the farm dog, not because she matters. Her image pulsing across the world below this doomed dog in space. No, a living, breathing dog in space. A dog named Laika. Here, girl. Her eyes open. America, sleep-waking from a dream where America drove the axis from the world, and the axis of the world finds herself in a nightmare. She ducks when she sees anything flying her way. She covers her eyes with the heavy Sunday news. Her consciousness filters down to the citizen cells through her radio wave thoughts. Again with the beeping. Again with the, how did Khrushchev put it? We will bury you. Again with the ticking. Out of her sight, a broken country is stitched apart. Barbed wire and hate-thick concrete turn out to be only a symptom of the real walls being built. In the heavens, a beep, a bark. A man who doesn't speak our language comes back to the people and confirms Lenin's suspicions that there were no gods in the sky except the ones we put there. How hated he was for thinking that. Godless people, fearing no damnation, people inferior, yet ahead of us in this space rate, people again godless. Didn't he know? God is who kept him alive in all that bright blackness, the fool. What was he thinking? What did he really see? And was he looking at my country, my street, my house, my family? Me. Was he looking at me? Better shutter those windows, invent privacy fences, buy canned beans. I wonder what we all look like. Was ever a stronger statement made than this? Without firing a shot, the battle ends and the red flag hammer sickle flapping in solar wind like they have work to do. Staticking home, in and out, the TV, the radio, the message from above our heads. We're here and we see you. Tick. Yet for the man, more human than propaganda suggests, something else takes place. Where we see a devil, he sees oceans. Where they see a hero, he sees the grassy steppes running across Soviet Russia. We all see endless space and fear and possibility. He sees this perfect blue planet eventually. 1958 sends a rocket tipped by the stars and stripe, charging through the atmosphere and into space, changing, but only changing the rules of the race. People still shiver when a plane flies overhead, still build concrete bunkers as if a simple walk on the moon could prevent a nuclear war. Tick. Look, says the announcer, up in the sky, it's a bird. Beep, a rocket. Beep, a metal sphere. Beep, a dog. Beep, a man. Beep, 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 beep. Houston, we have a confession. All this ever was a story about a boy who lost his dog so that a war could never occur. A story about a boy and his dog who were separated by fear, who both died alone. A story about a boy who for years stood in his father's fields looking for his dog in the stars. All this ever was a story about a dog who would go beyond the ends of the earth to find her way back home. All this ever was a story about how we wake up in the morning and fear the unknown. All this ever was a suggestion that perhaps the last truly meaningful thing that was ever across the airwaves was the whining of a dog. All this ever was a reminder that anything can sound terrifying if you say it to us far enough above our heads. All this ever was a story about a robot, a dog, and a man who walk into a bar with fake IDs. Beep, whoop, And yet, they say, each has a fascinating story with the same hilarious ending. All this ever was a story about a robot, a dog and a man who walk into a bar and sit across from one another, and when they speak, everyone on earth can hear them, but no matter how loud they scream, they can never hear each other.